Hello, and today I'm going to interview Cyriaque, who is an English teacher at the Science Faculty of Nantes in France, and who is also a writer, and he's written two novels, Afrikaners, based in South Africa, and Havana 505, based in Cuba, and they're both written in French, but soon to be translated into English, and maybe Spanish and other languages. So, hello Cyriaque.
Hello.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about yourself as an English teacher and as a writer and a speaker of many different languages. So,
Right.
so first of all, tell me about your life as an English teacher.
Well, in fact, when I was an English teacher, initially, what is funny, in fact, is that I studied foreign languages at university, but applied foreign languages was more like business oriented. And I spent a year in Britain, and when I came back, in fact, the fact of spending a year in Britain and I was working as a French assistant, so a bit of teaching. I felt like, well, why not? Teaching would be a good thing, and I started teaching something which was marketing really oriented, so I could find the perfect combination between English and I studied after. I did a master, but which was really literature oriented. Even though I did the 3 years, it was initially business oriented, but afterwards I did something different, more literature oriented, so the master.
So, are you particularly attracted to a particular English-speaking culture or country? Do you have any special affinities?
Well, I spent a year in Britain,
Mm-hmm.
I said, and maybe after, from my own experience, because I spent 2 years in the Reunion Island, and I had to deal with South Africa, maybe, which is, is connected to the British history with all the war and so on. So I had really, this is the country I know by heart, maybe, because I was the history of the country, which is connected to the British Empire too. So I could find something really interesting in South Africa. But of course, I don't talk about it a lot in class. I mean, I talk sometimes, of course, about America or Britain, but from my personal experience, an English-speaking country would be South Africa.
Mm-hmm. And what drew you to teaching English rather than teaching French? Because you
Yeah,
write in French.
yeah. Well, probably. Well, I mean, when I started learning English as a child, very immediately I could find really just really natural connection with the language, and I would say teaching was a bit by chance because there was a job advert for teaching marketing in English, so and I realized that I think nobody had never told me because being a teacher is something you have to, I mean, English teaching English, but being a teacher is something that has to be natural. So I think really, so I was, I mean, talking to students in class comes, naturally you have to. So I mean the combining communication and English, and so I started with marketing things, and then really started teaching different fields in English, with a wide range of activities related to the language.
Do you actually refer to cultural activities or events in your classes? Do you talk about your interest in the mafia culture in
Mm-hmm.
Havana or about racism?
Not that, I mean, not that much because I really have to focus on the program to the syllabus. So, when you teach, for example, at university, you have science-oriented stuff, but I, well, that can happen. Yeah, of course. For the first year, the mafia is part of the program, so it'll be like 15 minutes talking about what I know about the mafia in Cuba, but not really. No, I really stick to the program. I don't want to add too many personal things. I really need to want to do my best. So program, even though sometimes of course you do different things.
Hmm. And how do you try to communicate a love for speaking English to your students, or get them to improve their English?
Yeah. Oh, one thing is, I really, this is my first goal. Objective is everybody's got to speak. So, which is not always easy when you have sometimes big groups, but just for example, this student had 25 people. They had a series of 6 questions. Everybody had to speak. So I communicate, well, my love for English teaching, really person-to-person communication, really, even with a big group. So everybody's got to speak, even though they don't want to. But so this is the way I focus on the close relationship with the students.
Hmm.
So,
And have you had some students over a certain number of years, or do they change every year, or do you sometimes see students over maybe a 2 or 3 year period?
2 or 3 years, yes, but really adaptation is really the word, because I had to adapt to a wide range of students. So, well, 1 year, 2 years maximum, yes. So,
Mhm.
um, really, there's turnover of students, because I teach in different places. So I can't say really have a
Mm.
long-term contact with them.
And
Like 4 years, in a row,
yes,
or never kind of
no,
stuff.
yeah, never long. And in a period of a year or 2 years, do you notice any change in your students, in the way they behave, or any changes during the classroom, positive or
You
negative?
mean yes, but I mean connected to the language itself,
Contact,
or
yes, to
just
how they are in the English class, or do they?
I can't say really. I mean, the students have. I mean, most of them are 18 or 20. They don't feel like learning, or they are not really interested in English. I don't think they start at, when they are 18, or start loving or having an interest. Most of the time, that's what they told me. So I don't like English because, maybe this is the easy excuse, but well, it's because we didn't get on well with my teacher when I was in CCM, or so. I can't say I see a really huge change in behavior,
Mhm.
or in being more self-confident, or that kind of thing. Not really.
Mhm. And talking of self-confidence, how about you yourself as a French and English speaker? Do you feel more self-confident in when you're speaking French or when you're speaking English? How do you feel?
I feel maybe I feel more confident when I speak when I have a meeting with teachers. All of them are, it happens sometimes, native speakers. I'm the only one who's not a non-native speaker. So when I started, I kind of had a sort of lack of confidence. But in fact, no. I mean, no. I mean, you don't have to. If you start thinking, you you will get a lack of confidence. So I
Mhm.
don't think too much. Even though, right, yeah, the fact of having a meeting sometimes with native speakers uh, makes me, yeah, feel like not talking too much, or maybe listening more than speaking.
Mhm.
But no, don't have to. If I hadn't spent a year in Britain, I would have, and I've never been a teacher. I
Mhm.
think really, yeah.
So that was very important to you,
Yes,
the year you
yes.
spent.
If I hadn't, yeah, spent a year, I don't think I would have been a teacher. I
Mhm.
mean, because the confidence really it came after a year, or
Mhm.
6 months, or a year, really.
So you don't feel that you belong to a certain group of native English teachers? You feel outside of that group?
Yes and no. Yes and well, I mean yes, because well, no, because I still have my French identity, and yes, because I uh, I see them on a regular basis, like every Friday, or every, I mean, native language, native speakers, teachers who are native speakers. So the fact of being with them all the time, sometimes I can't say, the difference between me and them.
Mm-hmm.
But after you have the 3 or 4 months without seeing any native speakers, or your French identity maybe really back and forth.
Mm-hmm. If you had to give a sort of percentage of your cultural or national identity, would you say you're sort of 60% French and 40% English, or
It's
can?
really, really, really hard question.
Mm.
I'd say uh, percentage. Okay, how shall I say 90% French? In fact, I don't. Yeah, it's like yeah, my identity is French, really. But after, if you speak about the language, it's really a hard question. But 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Don't,
So the cultural identity 90 and the
yep.
language identity.
No, I mean, say 80-90% the culture, the
Mm-hmm.
culture, and the language is. I don't consider myself as being bilingual, really pure bilingual person. No, so it's not like 100% French or 100% English from a language point of view. I'd say 93%.
Mm-hmm. And have any of your close friends or family who see you speaking like I do? I see you speaking English and I see you speaking French. Has anyone ever said to you that you are different in some way when you speak French or English, or that you sound different?
Mm-hmm. Well, the fact, yeah, but the situation is that when I speak English with people, it's because the people who are involved in teaching. So my, well, it did happen sometimes. My friends have saw me in a concrete situation. They're like, "Oh, well, you speak English very well." They are amazed. I said, "Well, this is my job." So, uh, or we started playing the game sometimes of speaking or in English. But they don't know. I don't know if they see somebody different. Can't tell you really.
Mm-hmm. You haven't had experience of that.
No, not really.
And let's talk a bit about you as a writer. Uh, you choose to write in French, but often, well, Afrikaners is about an English-speaking culture.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about your decision? Is it a
Well,
decision to write in French, or?
well, it's because probably I started. Well, I started like writing as a child before learning English. So, and probably because my vocabulary range is wider really in French, and I well, I did write sometimes, but short text in English, like more songs. But um, inspiration. I mean, I think about the book in English, of course. Sometimes, when
Mm-hmm.
you speak to yourself. I said, I thought about the story in English. And, I should write this. But when I write, actually, it's in French. Really, um, talks about the subtleties of the language sometimes. So I want to. So I haven't thought about why not. Sometimes I think about it, but writing in English, but so far I focus on the French language. Can't explain why. It's
Mm-hmm.
more natural, maybe, or so.
But the your subject matter is definitely not French for the time being.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why that interest in non-French or francophone
Yeah, I could
countries?
have. Yeah, it's just because by chance. I mean, I could have. I'm thinking. I've thought about writing recently. I've been thinking about writing something which is connected to France, but the first book was South Africa because my experience at one point in my life was connected to South Africa, and Cuba is just because it's a long story. But I mean, just when watching a TV, it happened that I found a story, and I had the contact with the guy. It's an incredible. You can't explain. That was like a coincidence, but yeah. And after the exotic appeal of Cuba, I mean exotic, all the atmosphere and all the yeah special ambiance and all that kind of. probably it's connected because too I'm a fan of old. I like watching all black and white American movies. I can find this atmosphere. So, so
Great. Well, that's very interesting, and thank you for sharing your experiences of English teaching and
thank you.
speaking with me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.